19th-century literature wasn't a quiet salon. It was a knife fight in print, and one feud on this list almost moved from ink to gunpowder. Today I'm ranking 5 heavyweight grudges from the century, ascending from chilly to volatile, and showing how these clashes shaped what we read and how we read it. Stay with me to the top slot. That one comes with pistols. No romance, no gossip. This is pure literary combat. Reviews, prefaces, club hearings, parodies, and letters with teeth. Let's climb the ladder. Number 5. Mild. Charles Dickens and William Makepeace Thackeray. The Garrick Club quarrel. 2 Victorian colossi. Early on, there's mutual admiration. Then comparisons bite. As Pendennis gets stacked against David Copperfield, Dickens bristles at having, as one friend put it, a brother near the throne. The crack comes in 1858 when Dickens quietly backs his younger ally Edmund Yates, who prints a snide character sketch of Thackeray, cold and uninviting. His bonhomie is forced, his wit biting. Thackeray is livid. He and Yates are clubmates at the Garrick and had shaken hands the night before. He calls the piece slander and pushes the club to act. The Garrick rules in Thackeray's favor. They label Yates's behavior intolerable in a society of gentlemen and press him to apologize or resign. Dickens writes soothing letters about a quiet accommodation, but Thackeray discovers Dickens had been advising Yates behind the scenes. Trust evaporates. Yates is expelled. The friendship between Dickens and Thackeray is wrecked. Outcome: Years of Frost. A brief street-side handshake in 1863. Then Thackeray dies that December. Public opinion mostly sides with Thackeray's honor. Dickens's popularity never dips, but his role here stains the margins of his reputation. Mild by our scale because no art is directly born from the quarrel, and no fists fly, but the rupture is total. Number 4. Moderate. Fyodor Dostoevsky and Ivan Turgenev. Slavophile versus Westernizer. Ideology first, then ego. Turgenev, cosmopolitan and liberal, eyes Paris and Berlin. Dostoevsky, orthodox and nationalist, looks inward to Mother Russia. The sniping starts early. Turgenev, in private verse, calls Dostoevsky a pimple on the nose of literature. Dostoevsky fires back in letters about émigré liberals sneering at Russia, advising Turgenev to get a telescope to observe his homeland from France. The real artillery is fiction. In Demons, Dostoevsky invents Karmazinov, a preening, self-regarding novelist who stages a farewell reading titled Mercy. That's Turgenev in a funhouse mirror, and everyone in Russia knows it. Turgenev answers in essays and conversation, griping about the sour smell and hospital stench of Dostoevsky's pages and mocking the feverish psychology. Outcome: no duels, no reconciliations, just 2 camps glaring across a chasm. Turgenev wins European prestige early. Dostoevsky wins posterity inside Russia and far beyond. Moderate intensity because it's an all-out print war with deep ideological stakes. No meetings, no peace, but no physical brink. Number 3. High. Henrik Ibsen and August Strindberg, the Scandinavian fault line. They never meet, yet they spend a decade locked together like 2 thunderclouds. Ibsen is cool and architectural. Strindberg is volcanic. Strindberg reads A Doll's House and goes ballistic, calling its feminism swinery. Then he announces a 10-year war against Ibsen, and later claims it cost him his wife, his children, his fortune, his career. He writes The Father in part as counterblow and keeps up a steady barrage in prefaces and articles. Ibsen doesn't rant publicly. He gets methodical, even petty, in a stylish way. He hangs a portrait of Strindberg above his desk, so the rival's face stares him down while he writes, nicknaming it Madness Incipient. It's psychological combat as interior design. Meanwhile, Strindberg's obsession spirals into breakdown territory. He still can't stop sniping. Outcome: no handshake, no detente. Theatergoers pick sides. Short term, Ibsen looks steadier and keeps his stature. Even Strindberg grudgingly admits Ghosts is a masterpiece. Long term, both define modern drama. Ibsen for ironclad structure and social shock. Strindberg for raw nerve and expressionist futures. High intensity because the feud becomes a creative engine and a personal hazard. Still with me? We haven't even reached the laureate Byron sharpening his blade or the one that calls for pistols. Number 2. Severe. Lord Byron and Robert Southey. Satire with powder burns. Southey, Poet Laureate and converted Tory, goes moralizing in the preface to his A Vision of Judgment. He condemns a satanic school of poetry. Writers with diseased hearts and depraved imaginations. It doesn't name Byron, but come on, the target glows in neon. Byron answers with The Vision of Judgment, a tour de force of mockery. The preface flays Southey as a renegade prig, reminding readers that the same man once wrote the radical Wat Tyler. In the poem, Byron's wit is lethal. My favorite jab, describing Southey's fall and miraculous buoyancy. He first sank to the bottom, like his works, but soon rose to the surface, like himself, for all corrupted things are buoyed like corks by their own rottenness. That's the sound of a reputation taking water. Outcome, public, immediate, and bruising. Southey fumes, threatens to counter, never lands a clean hit. Byron becomes the people's champion. Posterity's verdict is brutal. Byron ascends as a brilliant satirist. Southey is remembered mainly as the man Byron undressed. Severe intensity for the scale, the speed, and the reputational damage. Number 1, Extreme. Leo Tolstoy and Ivan Turgenev, the duel that almost happened. Yes, Turgenev again. Different opponent, different temperature. In 1861, a petty argument about child rearing and a governess detonate years of friction. Tolstoy storms off, then writes a formal challenge. Meet with pistols at the frontier. He insists on a real duel, not a gentleman's pantomime. Turgenev is shaken. He apologizes. I offended you without provocation. He admits their extreme and constant antagonism is irreconcilable and offers a dignified capitulation. He even says he'd face Tolstoy's fire if it would atone, but begs an end to the madness. Tolstoy isn't satisfied. He halts his travels to send for pistols, fires off a second, harsher note. Turgenev refuses. The duel doesn't happen. The cost is heavy anyway. 17 years of silence. Friends pick sides. Observers call Tolstoy unheard of for wanting to settle opinion with bullets. Then the long thaw. Careful letters in the late 1870s. In 1883, on his deathbed, Turgenev writes to Tolstoy, "Return to art. You're the greatest of us." Tolstoy later admits shame at his behavior. Outcome. In their moment, many favor Turgenev's restraint. By the 1870s, Tolstoy's War and Peace and Anna Karenina tilt the map. Posterity crowns Tolstoy, but the human story is a near disaster. Two titans almost exchanging shots over pride. Extreme, because it moves from pamphlet and parody to a call for pistols. So what do these 5 teach us? First, reputations are battlegrounds. Clubs, prefaces, and serials stand in for courts and dueling grounds. Second, the heat can fuel the work. Demons gains a villain. The vision of judgment becomes a classic of English satire. Ibsen and Strindberg forge the modern stage while glaring at each other. Third, winning shifts with time. Thackeray keeps his honor but loses a friend. Byron buries Southey. Dostoevsky grows while Turgenev cools. Tolstoy towers, yet wishes he hadn't reached for pistols. Your turn. Rank them yourself in the comments. Which feud is the most compelling? And who, in your view, actually won at the time and in the long run? If you enjoyed this dive, subscribe and stick around. The shelf only gets sharper from here. Until next time, keep your candles lit and your prefaces loaded.